However, next week I will not be here. I'm taking the week off, going up to Iowa, and it'll be a combination of Paul Gonzalez and Jack Ellery sitting in next week, and for them, I'm grateful. What can I say? It's either that or old tapes, you know? So many things, so many things on my head today. We'll be talking, in essence, by the way, just to give you a little bit of a clue, about guns, boobs, and birds. That is, snowbirds, brain damaged, of course, as well as a few other things to throw in. First and foremost, let me thank Brian at, Roger Carl Music Incorporated. The kazoos that he promised to send me came in yesterday. He sent two, one plastic, one metal. And I'm sitting here trying to decide which one sounds better. Perhaps a little bit later on in the show, we'll, play all three, the old one and the two new ones, and let you vote on which one to use. Might be exciting. One of the things, though, that really, really, really interested me, both kazoos, both the metal kazoo and the plastic kazoo, are made in the good old U.S. of A. One of the very few things, I guess, that we still make in this country. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that a kazoo would have said made in Japan. Hey, thanks, Republicans, for that, The Japanese, of course, have turned their kazoo factories into automobile plants. We have turned our automobile plants into kazoo factories. But, hey, what are you going to do? I wonder how much longer it will be, and I mean this sincerely. I wonder how much longer it will be before people who drive around in Japanese cars are going to start taking a lot of heat for it. It probably won't be very much longer. I suspect the Japanese car manufacturers are already getting a little bit nervous about this. If you've noticed, there's a commercial on, I think it's for Toyota, but I could be wrong. There's a commercial on television where 4 or 5 car designers are sitting around in a great big room talking about designing the new Toyota. Of course, none of them are Japanese. They're all Americans. Kind of an interesting spot. Hey, maybe you'd like to defend buying Japanese, sending real wealth over to Japan and receiving for it nothing but consumer products that wear out or rust out or whatever it might be. Hey, speaking of sending things, so far we have received 1 Canadian quarter for the Lassiter Chair Fund. Perhaps you people thought I was joking about that. I am not. So I will give out the address again to send your Canadian quarters to the Lassiter Chair Fund, care of WFLA, 801 East Jackson Street, 33602. When we get enough Canadian quarters, I get a new chair, and we'll stop bitching and moaning about it over the air. Also, speaking about sending things, I mean, my goodness, what a deal we just cut with Fidel and the boys down there in Cuba. They're going to send us 27,000 Cubans a year indefinitely, and we are going to send them 2,500 Marielitos. What a deal. I tell you, those guys up there in Washington, that Reagan administration, they cut tough deals. Really, really tough deals. I mean, tell me about it. Oh, how would you like to negotiate with them? Oh, boy, I wish it was, the Reagan administration I was negotiating my contract with. Such is life. Perhaps I wouldn't have to sit here, beg and plead for Canadian quarters to buy a new chair if that was the case. Great story. Oh, what a great story. To open up the Tappa Tribune this morning, sit down there with your bacon and eggs or whatever it is that you eat for breakfast, and you can read about a 5-year-old boy who may have been influenced by a popular horror film that features grotesque killings, wounded a toddler by stabbing her 17 times. The boy, of course, whose name is not being released, was in the custody of his parents pending a review of the case by the State Department of Social Services. That's up in Boston. While state law prevents authorities from charging children under the age of 7 with crimes, the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office said it would determine if charges should be filed against the boy's parents. I just love stories like this. Let me go on with this one. The attack occurred on Tuesday evening at the Highland Street home of the victim's babysitter, police said. The boy, who was the babysitter's grandson, attacked the 2.5-year-old girl with a kitchen knife. The girl suffered multiple lacerations of her face, thighs, and buttocks and was treated and released from Children's Hospital. Police refused to release the identification of anyone involved in the case. Witnesses told police that before the attack, the boy talked of Jason, the masked killer in the Friday the 13th movies. I just love this kind of stuff, huh? A social services spokesman confirmed the state agency was investigating, but he would not disclose details of the case. We will look at the child and will try to provide services to the family. This is an unusual situation And nothing has been determined, he said. Why is it? I really just don't understand this. Why is it that in a case like this, 5-year-old boy, there are adults supposedly in authority, supposedly in control, sitting around saying, well, gee, should we criminally prosecute the boy, or maybe criminally prosecute his parents, or maybe not do anything to either party? Gee. And nobody ever stops to think about perhaps criminally prosecuting the SOBs who make vast fortunes on making motion pictures about people like Jason, who stab people for fun. And nobody really talks about prosecuting the people who make it all possible by going to movies like this and viewing them as though they were entertainment. Well, what are you going to do? You know, hey, you win some, you lose some. Hey, speaking of boobs, another great article today in the newspaper. Oh, this is really fantastic. It's about that porn queen who is a member of the Italian parliament. It seems that she went to visit the Portugal parliament. I don't know why, it doesn't say. And she was sitting in the visitors gallery, and she stood up and exposed her left breast. Oh, my God, she exposed her boobie. Oh, what are you going to do? I mean, nipple and everything we're talking about here. And it, of course, made the newspapers all over the world. I mean, just all over the world. A woman stands up, pulls down her dress, exposes the left boobie there with a nipple, and it's in the press all over the place. There's a tremendous debate going on in Italy as to whether or not to revoke her, what do they call it here? The Italian parliament is weighing requests that the woman's immunity as a radical party deputy be waived so she can stand trial on charges of violating obscenity laws. And this is news. As a matter of fact, not only is it news in Portugal, where you might expect it to be, not only is it news in Italy, where you might expect it to be, but it's even news in Tampa Bay, Florida. The porn queen exposes herself. By the way, I should point out that this story, which granted was not on the front page of the newspaper, but nonetheless it ran before stories about Secretary of State George Shultz talking arms control with Shevardnadze. It ran before stories about the administration backing off the invitation for Mr. Gorbachev to address a joint session of the Congress. This is news that is apparently, considered before that. Well, that's okay. Hey, I'm not really criticizing that. I am simply pointing it out because it is one of the things I want to talk about today. And I'm not trying to be cute. I'm not trying to be shocking. I'm not trying to be anything but deadly serious, because this country, I guess this society, the Western society, is obsessed with boobs, and I frankly don't understand it. I mean, there are people out there with the world going to hell in a handbasket running around saying, oh, should we put the slut in jail for exposing herself? Well, I mean, maybe I could understand that if it was Bella Abzug who stood up in Parliament, whipped them out there. Hey, look at these babies. But I frankly just do not understand. I mean, hell, if you want to show them, why not? I think you ought to be allowed to. And if not, why not? I mean, give me one damn good reason. Give me one damn good reason why a woman's breasts must be concealed. And again, I'm not trying to be cute. I mean, this is nonsense. I mean, hell, most women walk around coming as close as they possibly can to showing the damn things anyway. Most men go berserk. Oh, God, look, there's a breast. I can see the nipple through the material. It's hard. Must mean she wants it. Like I said, I'm not trying to be cute. This country is obsessed with boobs, and I frankly do not understand why. I mean, hell, even this morning, and I hadn't even thought about this, but this morning I'm sitting there babysitting Sophie while Martha's getting ready. Or not Martha, Mary. Oh, God, I hope she's not listening. Well, nonetheless, there I am babysitting the dog while my wife is getting ready. And I'm flipping through the television channels, and I come to Channel 3, and there's an exercise show going on at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I stop for just a few seconds, and it suddenly dawns on me, the camera is zoomed in real close and tight on a woman sitting on the floor one of the exercise girls. There's always, the exercise leader who has a microphone on, and these 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 buffoons behind them who do nothing but smile and wear very, very tight clothing and jump up and down in very provocative fashions. And this is, public television. And the camera is, bam, right in on the bimbo's chest. And I mean, she has some gazongas, I want to tell you. She's got a large set of gazongas. And then slowly it pulls back until finally her entire figure is filling up the screen. This is 8 o'clock in the morning for an exercise show. And we all know that, maybe there are 12 people out there that jump up and down with the barbells and listen to the lady, giving the instructions that almost anybody who tunes into these shows, we know why they're watching them, huh? Right, of course we do. And I would just like one damn good reason why anybody should get bummed out because somebody wants to expose her breasts. I mean, how much do we spend in this country enforcing laws? How much do we spend walking around making sure that women on the beach are properly exposed? Hell, it was just a couple of weeks ago that there was damn near a riot at a seafood festival. I think it was in Madeira Beach, but one of the Pinellas County beach towns having some kind of a little festival, and there was some broad there who was hey, flashing every now and then, and the cops started getting involved in it, and then there was a big melee, and everybody, I mean, people could have been killed because people were going bananas over some bimbo showing her boobs. I mean, what damn difference does it make, huh? And how much a year do we spend enforcing this when there are people who are damn near starving out on the streets? And don't tell me it's a fluff topic. It isn't. Don't tell me it's a shock topic. It isn't. Like I said, that story ran prior to the story on Schultz talking arms control, and the quagmire hid out in the bushes on the third night, waited for the guy to come in, take his television set, climb out of the window. Then he chased the guy down the street for a block, shot him, killed him, came before the grand jury, and the grand jury exonerated him. Okay, well, that's neither here nor there. What I would like to do, maybe this afternoon, amongst other things, is I would kind of like to get a dollar value. At what point is it okay to kill somebody because he is burglarizing you? A dollar value. He didn't threaten anybody's life. He didn't break into the home while it was occupied. As a matter of fact, the home was unoccupied. The owner was standing out and hiding in the bushes. So I would like a dollar value from all the people who love to shoot other people, and there are quite a few of them. I have to assume several of them are listening to this program. For, at what point are you able to take somebody's life with a gun, shoot him in the back for stealing from you? Either, there must be a dollar value, $5, $100, $1,000, whatever it might be. Might be terribly interesting to find out. But you could buy a full-size American car back then for about $3,500. Okay. So $5,500 was a lot of money for this car. It had a number of little problems, not major things. It never fell apart on me. But I went through 15 speedometer cables. And I'm not kidding. Nor am I exaggerating. I just finally decided, to hell with it. I figured out how fast I was going from the tachometer. Because it just became to be such a pain in the ass going back to get the speedometer cable replaced. The windshield wiper motor went out, and it took over a year to get one.
See, today I had 4 old farts cut me off, and you're still just a hair too easy on those old people. I don't know if you've...
Well, I just don't see how you can put a front-page cover story on USA Today and not bother chatting with any of the people whose lives are affected by this influx every year. I mean, you read that article and one comes away with the impression that everybody is just, oh, here come our friends from up north again. Oh, tra-la-la, let's have a parade to welcome them.
A finer quality car, at times, not all cars. And let's take a look at the merchandise trade deficit anyway. It's simply a number, which in Excel signifies nothing.
You're kidding me.
The U.S. ran trade deficits during the first 100 years of its existence.
Yes, but not like we're running them now.
Japan ran massive trade deficits.
And we ran trade deficits because we didn't have any industry. We were running those trade deficits as we built up our own industry. There was no place to go to buy a plowshare. You had to import it from England until we built our own steel mills and forged our own plowshares.
Japan was running the same trade deficits in the 50s and 60s.
Yes, and exactly what they were doing, they were building their industry.
But are those...
They didn't have automobile plants, so they had to import Chevrolets.
Are those shortfalls a sign of economic weakness? Look at Brazil and Mexico. They have sizable trade deficits. Does that make them economically healthy? They're miserable.
They have sizable trade deficits. Does that make them healthy?
No. They have sizable trade surpluses.
You're very wrong.
No, I'm not.
You might be correct about trade, but not total cash flow. Do you realize that in most Central and South American countries that 40 cents out of every dollar goes for debt service? 40 cents.
Did our trade surpluses during the Great Depression make our, contradiction any less severe or easier to bear?
So you're in favor of trade deficits. You're in favor of spending the wealth of this nation to buy VCRs.
I'm not in favor of a trade deficit. I'm just against not having your choice. And
nobody's suggesting taking away the choice. At least I'm not anyway.
Okay,
yes, there are people who would suggest such a thing.
The folks out there crying because we have a trade deficit saying it's going to be our downfall. The reason we had a trade shortfall...
Trade deficit is shorthand for no jobs, no industry. It's shorthand.
The reason we had a trade fall in recent years is because we're growing, and the rest of the world wasn't.
We're growing?
That's right.
You're crazy.
If it hadn't been for our open markets, Europe wouldn't have...
What major factory has opened recently?
What's that?
What major factory has opened recently?
Which one? What are you talking about?
I'd like to know what company has built a major factory recently.
We got the lowest unemployment rate we've ever had. If that's not growth...
6% unemployment is the lowest unemployment rate we've ever had? You're crazy.
Maybe not the lowest...
You're an economic illiterate.
Maybe not the most lowest we've ever had.
You're an economic illiterate, my young friend.
4% inflation is zero, if you know anything about economics at all.
4% inflation is zero? What the hell are you talking about?
I'm not talking about inflation. I said unemployment. 4%.
Well, first of all, it's 6%.
But at 4% is zero. We're 2 points from zero inflation.
No, it's not zero.
What?
No, it's not zero.
4%.
4% unemployment. 4% unemployment is zero when you're talking with an economist from the political party that happens to be in power at the time, because he will tell you, well, the 4% is, let's see, what's the word we could make up for that? Oh, yeah, that's a transient unemployment. There are people going from one job to another. Yeah, so don't worry about that.
Oh, so we just take a transient employment and use that and say that a negative unemployment is really going to be a zero rate of employment.
Do you know what 7% unemployment translates to, my friend? Translates to 1 out of 13 people being out of work. Sounds a hell of a lot worse than 7%, doesn't it?
But I tell you
and
what, I don't think...
6% unemployment translates into roughly 1 out of 14 people being out of work.
I don't believe it. More than most after 1982, but we carried much of the rest of the world on our shoulders.
Right, Chuck. Chuck, I'm really not trying to insult you, but you're an economic illiterate. Proving that trickle-down economics works, because that's what he's really talking about. No, trickle-down economics has nothing to do with buying American. The trickle-down economic theory from Arthur Lapper was that if you cut the taxes of the wealthy, they will spend money. And that didn't work, did it? Gutless wonder. What's the matter, chicken? You afraid to come on the air? Love gutless wonders. One line open in Pinellas, 461-9352. I also love people that don't know what the hell they're talking about. 2 lines open in Hillsborough, 990-9352. All over the board this afternoon, which I kind of like. 1 o'clock hour coming up, along with all the news, weather, financial reports, all kinds of good stuff. 3 more hours yet to go. Please, whatever you do not venture very far. Record something on a cart that says, drop-off city after the newscast. Let me give you the telephone numbers. A couple of lines open in Hillsborough, 990-932. Back to the phones we go. Bill in St. Pete. Hi, Bill. You're on the air, WFLA.
Bob, I just want to make a comment on the ad that you talked about earlier. That ad was made by Nissan, not Toyota.
Okay, well, I said I wasn't sure which one it was.
Okay, well, let me just...
It's a matter of now the shoe is on the other foot. It is a matter of we are transferring the wealth of this nation. We are now spending our capital to buy consumer goods.
Yeah, but...
What do you mean, yeah?
Some of the manufacturers, like, for example, Ford Motor Company, has improved their quality And they've turned the picture around. They're making more money than any automobile manufacturer that ever lived.
That's correct.
And the reason is because their cars are better.
That's correct.
And
I've
so
got one of them.
If the other guys did the same thing, if Chrysler and General Motors did the same thing, they could turn it around.
Well, that's all fine. That's all fine and well. We will assume that they're trying to. But in the meanwhile, if this place is to work, we all must make sacrifices.
Of course.
And if a sacrifice ends up being buying an American car as opposed to a Japanese car, then damn it, it's in our own best interest to do it.
Why did you buy a Volvo?
Why did I buy a Volvo?
Yeah.
Status. All 3 times. I was young and foolish. I did not realize what I was doing by buying a Volvo, if you'd like to know the truth. I did not realize. I now do.
I don't think the majority of American people that buy Japanese cars buy them for status.
Well, I don't think so either. You asked me why I bought mine, and I gave you an honest answer.
I think they buy them because they think they're better cars.
And well, they may think they're better cars.
But
well, they may be better cars.
Well, some of them
But that's besides the point.
Some of them are. But we don't object, for example, if Kentucky Fried Chicken goes to Japan, and we think that's great.
Well, it's up to the Japanese as to whether or not they want to buy the chicken when the company store opens up.
Well, doesn't that hold with automobiles, too?
But guess what? The Japanese doesn't want to buy imported products.
Oh, yes, they do.
No, they don't.
They don't let us, they don't. They'd love to buy Lincolns and Cadillacs. But
maybe that's what you'd like to think, but it happens to not be true.
No,
because the Japanese are very nationalistic people, and they will buy a Japanese product first.
You're not right on that, Bob. I'm sorry to contradict you, but the Japanese allow only a very small numerical...
I'm very well aware about the Japanese trade restrictions, but I'm also very well aware about the Japanese consumer attitude. And the Japanese consumer attitude is he would still prefer to spend his money at home.
Don't you think the Americans would?
No.
I do. I think the average American would much rather spend his money in the United States. I
mean, first of all, you must understand that an entire generation of Americans is growing up who don't even realize that Nissan and Toyota are foreign names. To them, they grew up with them. They're as American as apple pie. That's why Nissan is running that ad, to reinforce that attitude. Oh, well, hey, this is an American company. Just, a weird name. But why isn't it any more weird than, Unitech? They're trying now to give the impression to an entire generation of people that, hey, this is a good old USA company.
Well, I think you'd have a hard time saying that to a guy from Smyrna that works in their factory and makes $20 an hour.
I'd have a hard time saying what?
Explaining to him that there's something wrong with building cars in America, even though they're designed in Japan.
Well, if he's big-headed, that's not my fault.
How about one of the biggest purchasers, if not the biggest purchaser of Japanese automobiles, is Chrysler Corporation.
Yeah, I'm very well aware of it, and I don't like it. It stinks.
Yeah, well, but they still do it.
Well, as a matter of fact, I don't think they're the biggest anymore. I now believe General Motors is.
Well, General Motors may be, but you know that all of the small pickup trucks are built in Japan. Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler. There's none built in America. None of them.
Yeah, that's my point, Bill.
Yeah, but why don't why do these American manufacturers buy this stuff? They're cutting their own throat, aren't they? If Ford buys 200,000 Japanese pickup trucks.
Ford and Chrysler and General Motors and Harry's car company and Bill's car company and Bob's car company are having to compete with Toyota pickups because American people are so damn stupid they'd rather buy the Toyota.
Why should they expect you to buy an American product when they go out and buy Japanese products themselves? It's ridiculous.
Well, guess what?
What?
They wouldn't do it if the American consumer said, I'm going to buy your damn truck because that truck was made overseas.
Well,
then it will stop overnight.
But
don't shift the blame to Detroit. The blame is in hometown USA. The moment the American people say, I am not going to buy a Japanese videotape recorder, there will be American-made videotape recorders. The moment they say, I will not buy a Japanese-made truck with an American nameplate on it, there won't be any.
So how do you go about getting them to do that?
You have shows like this one. Tom in Tampa. Hi, you're on the air at WFLA.
Southern Cubans coming in here in the state of Florida. Who was it ordered that was
The Reagan administration.
well, I'll be goddamn. Boy, that's throwing us further back. God almighty, no, that's putting us further in trouble. God dang, how come we can't go to Cuba?
You know, I let that go the first time. I let it go the second time, but I'm going to terminate the conversation because obviously you don't quite understand the kind of language you use on the radio, and it's offensive. Roger, John in St. Pete. Hello, John. You're on the air at WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
John from San
There you
Diego.
go. No, go San Diego.
Haven't touched. I also own a BMW motorcycle.
You can't afford to buy American products. In my estimation, you can't afford not to. So what do you think?
I think that's in essence what I've said.
But how do you get that across that it's not the government that's really controlling this, it's the people who have to control it?
I believe that's what I've said.
Yeah, that's true. You say it again, I want to hear it again. Now you're hanging on the phone. Now, that's what you do with other people. When I call, you're not supposed to do that.
We don't take requests here on the show. Mike in Seffner. Hi, Mike. You're on the air at WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Mike.
I see you're butting up against the news, so I'll be brief. By the way, your caller before last was an extremely intelligent gentleman. I hope he calls in more often. Bob, my question real quick. Are you really serious about this chair?
Yes.
I mean, are you really serious?
Yes.
Bob, if you're, Florida is a right-to-work state, and it's also a right-to-organize state. I hear the music coming on, Bob.
You want me to put you on hold?
Yeah, could I just talk to you after the news?
Sure thing, no problem.
All right.
I'll put you on hold. That's line 4. I shall make a note of it so I don't forget it. I'll probably forget it anyway, but...
To make a good sauerbraten?
Your favorite. We have a caller on hold. I did remember, Mike. I did remember.
Yes, thank you, Bob. As I was mentioning you before the news, since you are as serious as you claim to be about this chair...
Of course I am.
State of Florida is a right-to-work state, and it's a right-to-organize state. And that means, Bob, we stop pussyfooting around with this, send me some money, and we organize the Society of Highly Intelligent Talk Show Hosts and Tangent Yuppies, which, by the way, has an interesting abbreviation.
Oh, what's that?
Well, it's, you kind of write it out, you can see it. But what you do, you get yourself, and you get Gonzalez, and you get, some of the news guys, and you organize immediately. And, of course, you go to Norman, and you ask him, to get you the chair, and you know what he's going to say. He's going to say no because you know who Norman is. He's so tight with a buck. I mean, he can make George Washington cry.
You see, you're starting to tell me my business. You're not giving me credit. You see, I am very well aware of that. I have known for a very long time that if you want to get something accomplished in this business, that it is a waste of your time, to make an appointment and go in and see the general manager in 4 days. By that time, you forgot why you wanted to make the appointment. He's aware of that. That's why he put you off for 4 days.
Right.
If you want to get anything accomplished in radio, you do it on the air.
There you go.
Because one of two things is going to happen. Either management will give in and buy the chair, or the people will eventually send me the money, and I can't lose. Well, I thought it was going to become a movement. I mean, there were so many people that said, yes, Lassiter, I'm going to send you the Canadian quarters, and so far I have received but 1 Canadian quarter in the mail. I mean, I'm heartbroken.
Well, I'm excited about it.
But there already are buzzes in the halls about, maybe the station will break down.
Well, if it works, all the tangent yuppies out there would bring this mass of people down to 801 North Jackson Street, and we would sit in down there, and we would raise some beep, and we'd get it done.
Well, perhaps when I come back from my vacation, by that time the mailbox should be overflowing. Actually, it should fall off the wall from the weight of all of those Canadian quarters. And if that is not the case by the time I return, which I think is November 30th, I believe I'm due back. I think that's a Monday. If the quarters aren't there, or the chair sitting here, one or the other, at that point I will take extreme measures. It just really dawned on me this morning. Yesterday in the mail, I got 2 kazoos, okay? From 2 kazoos.
What's that?
Kazoo, okay? And I turned them over, and I was astonished. Both of them are made in America. Just a handful of years ago, they would have been made in Japan.
Oh, that's good.
Well, the Japanese have taken their kazoo factories and turned them into automobile factories. We've taken our automobile factories and turned them into kazoo factories.
Yeah, we got to start.
Ain't a hell of a lot of need for kazoos. You know, very few people, even in radio, who will, sit here and play a kazoo on the air.
Yeah, I hear you. There might be a country like Mexico or so where people love a certain type of kazoo, and if we made those, we might be in better shape. But what I'm saying, is that as long as there's no laws in this country that make us buy an American product or make us buy a Japanese.
Nor should there be.
No, there's never.
There should be intelligent Americans that realize that by buying American, they are investing in their own future.
No, I think that in the long run, they're just going to be hurting their future. Because the world is growing very fast now, and all that money is already...
Well, unfortunately, they don't pay enough down at the kazoo factory to be able to afford those Japanese cars, and besides that, the Japanese don't like kazoos. Okay. So you're investing in your own future by buying the American car.
Okay.
Buy the Japanese kazoo if you must.
Passion call, so I thought I'd give you one.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Should I start breathing heavy? Or?
Okay, well, not too heavy. I just happened to pick up one of your comments earlier today about the price we put on a human life, say, with a firearm, say, for instance.
Yeah.
That if someone steals the property from us. Well, that was really a dumb comment.
It was a dumb comment, really?
Oh, extremely.
How's that?
Well, I'm a gun advocate. I believe in, just Florida's letting us have a gun. Well, okay, let's take advantage of it. I'm also from the other extreme. I'm originally from New York, where they have the most strict gun laws in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And a decreasing homicide rate, too, by the way.
Okay, well, with or without guns, that's going to happen.
With or without guns, the homicide rate is going to go down.
Well, not go down. It's going to stay the highest in the country up there.
I beg your pardon. It isn't the highest in the country up there. The homicide rate in New York is going down.
It is
You
going
live
down.
in the state with the highest homicide rate.
Right, okay. What I'm just trying to get at is that if somebody broke into my house and stole my TV set, I would not shoot them people, even though I have vast amounts of firearms in my house and I know how to use them. I consider myself a competent person to use them. I wouldn't put a value on taking a human life that way. The only way I would use a firearm if myself or my family or what is mine is endangered. Well,
that would be the intelligent way to use it, but you live in a state, again, with an awful lot of people who just assume that, you can be shot for, perhaps flipping a bird in traffic or...
well, that's going to happen not in Florida. It's going to happen
stealing
in
a
any part
package
of
of chewing gum.
Well, look what's happening in California, and they have a strict gun law out there.
I'm very well aware of what's happening in California. Actually, I don't know why they're picking on California. It happens every place.
That's right.
It has been for years.
Look at all the illegal guns on the streets. People, this law down in Florida has nothing to do with whether you're going to have a gun or whether you're violent and carry a baseball bat. It's just people are violent, as a general rule of thumb.
Well, I agree on that, but I don't see any reason in encouraging them to be violent.
No, I don't agree with that. But I just thought that was a dumb comment because there is no value of life, monetary that you can put on life. If someone stole...
Well, perhaps it was a dumb comment to you, and perhaps it would be a dumb comment to me, but believe it or not, there are actually people that do place such values.
Yeah, you're right.
You heard one. If you were listening to the entire program, you heard somebody, tell me, penny, that's enough.
Yeah, that's penny. Well, if someone walked up to me, and threatened me with I'm walking down the street with my family, and I happen to have a firearm on my possession, and they threaten me bodily harm to me and my own, well, that guy might get a bullet right between the eyes.
Well, I support you 102%.
Okay, if someone takes my wallet, okay, I can replace that credit card. I can put the $50 that's in there. I can replace that. But, unfortunately, you're right about, that people think that way.
Well, you see, the people up in New York this morning on the Today Show were somewhat appalled that the case that they were referring to was the young man in Florida who was robbed 3 nights in a row and stood outside. Well, they were somewhat appalled that the grand jury here said, well, hey, come on, the guy stole his television set. Hey, that's okay to kill him.
That was a strange situation because actually he was like, I can't think of his name, the man on the subway up in New York.
Bernhard Goetz.
Okay, he did the same exact thing. He actually went out to, to lure these people in and to, do his little vigilante thing.
Well, I don't know that he was out to lure the people in. I think
he probably had it up to here and said, well, this is all I'm going to take. And then, now I don't know the whole outcome of the jury, the trial there, but I think...
Well, he was found guilty and he hasn't been sentenced yet, I believe.
Right, but he'll probably get off and,
No, he was found guilty. He has some mandatory time coming.
Yeah, well, it's probably not as much as if he just went and robbed somebody under the same circumstances. You know what I'm saying?
Probably he'll get more.
You think so?
Yes.
I don't think so. I think,
If he went out and robbed somebody, because if he went out and robbed somebody, then,
if he went out and robbed somebody with a gun...
Oh, with a gun in New York... Well, a gun in New York State's a different story, but if he went out and robbed somebody in Florida...
Right.
Without a previous criminal record, he'd get probation. Yeah.
He will be lost. Florida has some of the most liberal gun laws so far in this country. And I agree with some of them. I disagree with a lot of it, but it's... if you have a right to defend yourself, that's what that item is used to be. You know, people are taking this gun item. You know, this gun.
Well, you know, only the worst moron in the world would deny somebody the right to defend themselves.
Right.
Only the worst moron in the world would defend someone the right to defend their property, but within reason.
Within reason, exactly. But where do you draw that line of reasoning? I mean, if a
well, in this
moron
particular
has a gun
case, chasing somebody down the street for a block after he had already dropped the merchandise, and
then he's a murderer. Then that person was a murderer.
You would say he's a murderer. I would probably say he's a murderer, but the state of Florida says, no, come on, the guy stole his television set. Hey, you know,
he had a good lawyer then.
He stole his television set. It's okay to kill him. That's what the state of Florida says.
That's exactly.
Gwen, we go in Sarasota. Hi, Gwen, you're on the air.
Hi, is this the Norman Show?
The normal show?
Norman.
Norman. The name doesn't ring a bell with me.
Oh, okay. Well, if I give you my address, will you send me an America Love It or Leave It bumper sticker?
If you give me your address, no, I don't have any of those.
This doesn't sound like...
Oh, back to me. You're just sitting here having some fun in the studio. You know how it is, gang. Sorry about that. Charlie in West Tampa. Hi, Charlie. You're on the air at WFLA.
Hi, Bob. This is Charlie
in West Tampa.
West Tampa, right?
Uh-huh.
Bob, I tried your pretzel and ice cream recipe you gave me the other day.
Oh, isn't it great, Charlie?
Well, see, Bob, there's a problem there. Yeah, I messed up, Bob.
You messed up, man. I thought you were writing it down with your crayon.
I did, Bob. I had it all set, but the problem is, you remember when you told me to go eat some cookies and milk while I'm waiting for it to...
Yeah, waiting for it to melt, right.
Bob, I ate too many cookies and I couldn't eat no more. I couldn't fit none.
Oh, Charlie.
Bob, I couldn't eat another bite. I ate too many cookies.
Well, did you undo your belt?
Huh?
Did you loosen your belt?
Yeah, well...
That didn't work?
It loosened itself, Bob.
Well, how many cookies did you eat, Charlie?
I don't know. I just was sitting there, kept looking around, going, "How long has it been? How long has it been?"
Well, Charlie, normally, when I'm giving out that recipe, I would assume that I was talking to a moron and would tell him how many cookies to eat so that problem wouldn't happen. But I thought you were a pretty sharp dude.
Well,
I would not, recommend more than 20, 25 cookies.
Oh, I passed that, Bob.
Well, I'm sure you did if you couldn't eat the ice cream.
I get the dunce cap. Anyway, Bob, you'll never guess what happened yesterday. I got to tell you this real quick. I was going to call you. I was very upset. I was going down 275 and
wait a second. What do you mean I'll never... Charlie, do you really think I sit around trying to guess what happens in your life?
Oh, come on, Bob.
Okay, Charlie.
Anyways, I was going up an up ramp onto the 275, and there's another up ramp coming another way, and they merge into one lane.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes this Rambler with Indiana license plates.
No.
I'm serious, Bob.
Oh,
I got witnesses.
Bummer.
Didn't even look, Bob. Just went right into the lane. I had to hit my brakes, got up on the interstate, and started going from lane to lane, not even looking, just moving over. And the center line was right dead in the center of his car. He could. Ooh, Bob, I tried to take...
Well, you have to Indiana, right? Well, you have to understand when you're seeing, when you see a car with Indiana plates, it might be a farmer, and he thinks that he's driving a tractor. And, out in the field, what they do is they center the tractor on those plow marks, whatever the hell they're called.
Right.
So, Indiana cars in particular, you have to be a little careful. If he was just, driving like he does back home on the farm.
Right. Well, I tried to get a look at him, Bob, but I couldn't see no head. All I could see was this big steering wheel with these two big hands on it, like going left to right,
Yeah.
Anyways, what I called about, Bob, is I've been listening, and learning a lot from you. But there's one thing I'm confused about. I heard you say something the other day about, like the mints in Denver and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You said something about like manufacturing actual cash.
Yeah, printing money, right?
Right. I don't understand why that, how that works. Why can't they just, I know they can't just print up lots and lots of money, but how does that affect, you said it affected the economy somehow.
Oh, terribly.
How is that, Bob? Can you explain that to me real quick?
Well, sure. It puts too much money in the economy.
Okay.
And what it really does, the real damage of that, is that it makes the dollar worth less overseas.
Mm-hmm. Because the more they make the...
Well, sure. I mean, if you were holding $1 and, you thought it had value, it would buy $1 worth of goods.
Right.
And somebody suddenly put more dollars into the economy without them being earned, without there being any wealth behind it to back them up. Mm-hmm. It makes the dollar that you're holding worth less.
Mm.
And then it's even worse than that, because now you don't have any faith or confidence in the issuer. You don't know if he's going to put still more dollars in. So what are you going to do with your dollar? You're going to dump it as fast as you possibly can for any price that you can get for it.
I guess that I guess that would also do something to the business industry, right? If they just printed money, right?
Of course, it would probably make it easier to buy pretzels and ice cream.
All right. That's true, Bob. Well, it was just something I always wondered about. I know it's a stupid question, but I figured if anybody could tell me, you could, Bob. Listen, when's your St. Pete article coming out? The Times?
I don't know.
Oh, really?
Probably within 2 weeks.
Okay, one more thing, Bob. Did you
But by the way, there will be an article in the Trib on Wednesday.
On Wednesday?
I think it's Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the St. Pete Times one going to be, is it going to be one day, or is that the series, like?
No, it's just one day to the best of my knowledge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hot, but I'm not that hot.
You're getting there, Bob. Listen, did you see the Tampa Bay Weekly that just came out?
Well, that was last week. Yeah, sure.
The editorial they got for you? The letter to the editor?
Oh, no, there's a letter to the editor about
Bob,
me?
You got a crown on your head. Let's see, Ron and Temple Terrace wrote it.
Do you have it handy?
Yeah, I got it right here.
Read it.
It's short and quick. Here it is. It says, Dear Sir, I have listened to Bob Lassiter since he came to Tampa 2 years ago. His razor-sharp wit and acid tongue have made life in sterile Tampa a lot easier to tolerate. I am glad to hear that Mr. Lassiter's talents are now aired over a first-rate radio station, WFLA.
Mr. Lassiter's talents.
Right.
That's not what I wrote. I said MD, Mad Dog. I'm sorry, please, go ahead.
You wrote this, Bob?
No.
At the same time, I must criticize the craven cowardice of Mr. Lassiter's former employers, WPLP. In your article, Mark Brewer admits that he let the most talented host in his station go as a concession to right-wing pressure groups. Such an attitude seems inconsistent with, parentheses, celebrating freedom of speech. That's a quote, I guess.
Wasn't even right-wing pressure groups.
Which is what WPLP claims to do. People like Mr. Brewer and the WPLP owners do more to advance censorship than a brigade of Soviet combat troops. Last paragraph. Best of luck to Lassiter and WFLA. As for the weak-kneed broadcasters of Pinellas Park, they might wish to acquire a new set of call letters, WIMP.
Whoa.
And that's Ron from Temple Terrace.
Were there more than one letter to the editor, or was that the only one?
Well, that's the one I can find right now, Bob. But
well, there were probably space constraints, and they could only print one.
No, Bob.
Sure, they were, deluged with them.
Well, keep up the good work, Bob.
Probably a couple of bomb threats, too.
And I'll try that pretzels and ice cream again.
Probably Bob Evans called up and threatened to pull their advertising, too, for running the article, even though they don't advertise.
I know a secret, but I don't think I can tell you, Bob.
What's that?
Well, I don't know if I should tell you or not. I just was on your commercial. I was just kind of flipping to the dial, and then I kind of found somebody that you haven't heard from for a while. I don't really want to say that.
Why?
The Weasel. I heard the Weasel.
You heard Scott where?
I heard the Weasel trying to buy some vitamins, I guess. I don't know.
You're kidding? The Weasel's calling Shanks?
I swear, Bob.
Oh, birds
I didn't want to say that, though. But it's been a while, though, so nobody needs to bother panicking. And have a good one, Bob.
Thank you, Charlie. Remember, no more than 25 cookies.
I'll try.
Okay.
Not easy.
I know, Charlie.
See you, Bob.
Bye-bye. The news coming up at the top of the hour. We shall return with one more hour. There's one line open by fourth and final hour for this Friday, November the 20th, 1987. Well, let's see. I'm flabbergasted. Is that really true? No drop-offs during the news? A full board after a newscast? And we're not even talking about sex. This is incredible. I mean, the last show I remember that happening, what was it? It was that masturbation show. Oh, let's not keep them waiting any longer. Karen in Tampa. Hi, Karen. You're on the air, WFLA.
Hi. I'm calling about that thing about the man shooting the other man for stealing his TV set.
Uh-huh.
I really don't feel like it's a question of materialism. Don't you think the one man was tired of being victimized, and that's why he shot the other one?
I'm sure he was very tired of being victimized. Thank you, Yvonne. I am heartbroken. Jacob, how could you do this to me? I was just about to punch up Jacob's line. I was going to say, ladies and gentlemen, we have a real treat for you, and go to Jacob, but just as I put my finger there, the line went dead. Jacob, you're a subhuman pig. You know what I mean, Jacob? A subhuman pig that doesn't have the nerve to confront me. I understand that the coward called back, so we shall go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a real treat. To our beloved Jacob. Jacob, baby, how you doing, honey?
How dare you call me a subhuman pig, Mr. Lassiter?
What do you mean, how dare you? You are a subhuman pig. You hung up, man. You're only holding for 12 minutes. What do you want?
I did not hang up. I was cut off by your incompetent staff.
Oh.
Now.
Jacob, I would have somebody fired who cut you off. You weren't cut off. You hung up.
I did not.
It's probably General Vernortner.
I would not hang on that long and then hang up, Mr. Lassiter.
You've done it before, Jacob.
No,
Come
I
on.
haven't.
Well, what was it that, tickled your fancy today, Jake?
I heard a most disturbing rumor being circulated in this community by certain elements.
Yeah.
Evil elements, I might add.
Evil elements. Well, they're the best kind of elements, aren't they, Jacob?
It concerns the Reverend Dr. Jerry Falwell.
Yeah.
And the alleged story is that the reason he quit the PTL and he withdrew from the moral majority is because he has contracted AIDS.
Uh-huh.
That's a disgusting attempt, a coward's attempt at damaging his credibility.
Well, why are you spreading it further, Jacob?
I'm not spreading it.
I mean, I hadn't heard it. Hadn't been mentioned on my show until now.
It has been mentioned on other shows.
Really? You listen to other shows, Jacob?
Occasionally.
Why?
Why not?
What do you mean, why not? They're not worth it, man.
Well, you're always telling me if I don't like what you're saying to turn to another station.
Well, that's true.
Well, then.
But I know that you like what I say.
I don't like what you say. I disagree.
Oh, right, Jacob. Come on, baby. I've done so much for you.
What have you done for me, Mr. Lassiter?
You're damn near as big a star as Rocky now. I've also tried to get your broads.
That is not my intent, Mr. Lassiter.
What isn't your intent, to be as big as Rocky?
No, Mr. Lassiter. I seek no self-serving publicity for myself.
Right, Jacob. Right.
The time will come when I will seek publicity when I run for office in Clearwater.
Oh, what are you going to run for, Jake?
I'm not going to
Dog catcher?
I have seen the damage that you can inflict if you want on people.
The damage that I can inflict?
The negative publicity and with people harassing with phone calls and such. The time will come. Another time, another place.
Another time, another... What do you mean, Jake?
You'll see when I run for office. You will.
I mean, do you really think the people of Clearwater are going to vote for a 32-year-old virgin?
Mr. Lassiter, must you keep referring to that?
Well, you're the one that brought it up. Initially.
It was in the context of our conversation.
Well, yeah, but you're still the one that said, and I'm a virgin.
Well, you were intimating that I was sexually free and randy and loose.
Randy? Randy? Who's Randy? Is he your lover?
Do you have a dictionary, Mr. Lassiter?
I have several of them, actually, Jacob.
Well, then you can. This will give you something to do.
I have lots of things to do, Jacob, but let's talk about this guy, Randy. How long have you and Randy been going out?
I know of no one named Randy, and I was using it as a term, a descriptive term. It was not a noun, a proper noun, a name.
Oh, I see. Randy, isn't it? What is his real name?
Whose real name, Mr. Lassiter? I don't.
Randy.
It's very confusing today.
What is Randy's real name?
Randy who, Mr. Lassiter?
Your boyfriend, Randy. The guy that you were just talking about.
I told you I had a girlfriend.
So Randy is a transvestite.
Mr. Lassiter.
Yes, Jacob.
Please.
Please what?
I understand you're going on vacation.
I just love it when they beg. What, Jacob?
You're going on vacation to Idaho.
No, Iowa.
Iowa?
Iowa, yes.
Well, maybe you'll like it there. Maybe you can audition.
Well, as a matter of fact, Jacob, the wife and I were talking just last night about, calling up the talk station there and goofing on them.
And what?
Goofing on them.
Well, if you want to reference, I will certainly give you a good reference.
It's a real small-town, old folks talk station. I think they're still debating the Vietnam War. And, they don't get the type of caller that I would be able to bring to them. And so I was toying with the idea of, calling them up and giving them a lot of grief for the week that I'll be up there.
I don't think that's necessary.
I think it'd be fun, though, Jacob, don't you?
Why should you disturb their peace and tranquility, Mr. Lassiter?
Well, why not?
Probably good.
I love disturbing peace and tranquility. It's what I get paid to do, Jacob.
Those are good Christian people up there.
Let's get back to Randy. How long have you been seeing Randy?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have anything to say to that, Mr. Lassiter.
Well, okay, Jacob. I can understand, if you don't want to get that personal about it.
Do you have a permit for raising money for that chair?
Do I have a permit for raising money for the chair?
You're soliciting funds over public airways, are you not?
Yes, I am. I don't need a permit.
Oh, you don't?
No, I'm fully disclosed. I'm not suggesting that it is a charitable contribution that people would be making. And on top of that, I've asked them to send me something that, for all practical purposes, is worthless, Canadian quarters.
That's currency.
That's currency in Canada.
It's currency.
You try to spend some, Jacob. See how far you get with them.
No, I refuse to take it.
And besides, I'm fully disclosed. I have no problem on that. Are you going to send me some Canadian quarters?
No, Mr. Lassiter, I'm not.
Well, why not?
Not until you accept Jesus Christ into your life.
Okay, so we won't be getting any quarters from you.
I'll buy you a new chair.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's awfully tempting. I mean, I could just kind of pull your leg.
What would that accomplish, Mr. Lassiter?
Might give us both a thrill.
I really want to help you, and I think you're starting
I'd love to pull your leg, Jacob. Yeah, I really would.
I think you're starting to change, Mr. Lassiter. I really want to help you.
You think I'm starting to change? How's that, Jacob?
I think you're beginning to accept the Christian way of life.
Well, what makes you say that, Jacob?
I can just tell by your tone. You no longer have these sex shows that are so offensive to many of us.
I no longer have the sex shows that are so... Jacob, I'm tempted to... I've got a full board now. Let's see. I've got one that wants to talk about American products, J.C. Penney's. I've got another one that wants to... Well, Captain Jack. Indecent Italian. I don't know what the hell that's all about. Oh, the woman that exposed herself at overseas products. I'm really tempted to blow them all off and just have girls call up to talk to you.
Oh, that would be fine, Mr. Lassiter.
So you see, I haven't changed my ways, Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm beginning to think you're changing your ways.
Why is that?
Well, Jacob, what do I do every time you call up?
You immediately revert into the gutter, into this sex
Right, I
talk.
talk dirty to you, right?
Yes, you do.
And you called yesterday, right?
Yes,
and here you are back on the phone today. You obviously like it, Jacob.
I do
You like having these spread to the entire community that you got a big gazanga, huh, Jacob? Right?
I never said no such thing. Now, you quit spreading this.
You did, too.
I never said anything like that.
You called it a salami.
I do not.
Well, I don't know what you normally call it, but you did call it a salami.
I never mentioned those words, Mr. Lassiter. Play the tape.
You did, too, Jacob.
Play the tape.
I said, Jacob, do you have a big salami? And you said, yeah.
I did. I assumed you were talking about cold cuts. You were very deceptive, and you try to draw me into these subjects.
Jacob, you knew better. We weren't talking about cold cuts, Jacob.
Well, I certainly would never utter things like that, and people that know me know this.
Well, do you have a big salami or not?
See, I'm tempted right now to say in my refrigerator, yes, but I know what you're referring to, and I don't like it at all.
Well, Jacob, you know, just so that we both understand, and so that all of Tampa Bay understands, do you have a large penis or not?
Mr. Lassiter, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You're a disgrace.
Well, that well may be, but do you or do you not have a large penis?
I refuse to answer that, Mr. Lassiter. It's no one's business.
So you got a little one. You're lying about it.
It does not belong on public airways.
Jacob has a small penis. Jacob has a small penis.
Mr.
Jacob has a small
Lassiter,
penis.
your age, not your shoe size.
We're not that far apart, Jacob.
That I can believe.
What does that tell you?
You have the mentality of a 12-year-old. Calling names. This is something I would expect in a schoolyard.
Do you hang around schoolyards a lot, Jacob?
I do not.
Then how do you know what to expect in a schoolyard?
Because when I was at that age, I can remember that far back, this is the type of thing that went on.
Jacob, hold on a second. I've got to go to Gary McHenry for a WFLA traffic report. Gary, how can you possibly come in and interrupt the call with Jacob?
Mr. Lassiter.
Wait a sec. Say that again.
I'm not giving it away.
I think you just did.
What is your shoe size? Let's see. We have had...
How big is your gazanga?
That was removed in an accident.
In fact, we being myself and my new co-host, Jacob. Jacob, you're still there, aren't you?
Yes, Mr. Lassiter.
Okay, let's take some calls, Jacob. Leanne and Lutz, hi, you're on the air with Bob Lassiter and Jacob from Clearwater.
Hi.
Hi.
What, am I supposed to talk to Jacob?
No, you don't have to.
Oh, okay. Well,
I have to, but you don't.
I love your show. It just cracks me up. I just started listening a couple months ago, and this is my first time to call.
Jacob, are you offended by that kind of language?
So far, so good, Mr. Lassiter.
Okay.
Well, I may talk about a subject that Jacob might not appreciate.
Oh, I hope so.
I wanted to mention about that woman that maybe you've gone off the topic of exposing herself.
Yes, I recall her.
Mr. Lassiter.
What, Jacob?
Well, Bob brought up the topic.
I know what this woman's going to say.
It was in the newspaper, Jacob. It's a current issue. Go ahead,
You know what I'm going to say? Well, I'm going to say that I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's our country that has the problem with it. I just got back from a trip a few months ago to Scandinavia, and people around there are just laying all around with no tops on, women. And, you know, they have a very low teen pregnancy rate and things like that because those kids are brought up that way.
Right, they don't go gaga over a breast.
No, they don't. Now, unfortunately, I did. It kind of freaked me out, but I don't think it's any big deal. And just
well, it's totally arbitrary. It's totally arbitrary.
Sure it is.
Don't show those things. It's not nice. Why isn't it nice? I don't know, but don't show them.
That's just our culture.
Right, Jacob. Would you care to, why shouldn't a woman show her breast if she wants to?
A woman's breast should be covered if she has any moral decency.
What does moral decency have to do with it, Jacob?
Because that's just the way it is. That's the way
the way you say it is.
Our God meant it to be, that the woman's breast...
We were born naked. Right?
What?
We were born naked.
I don't think Jacob was. He was probably born in overalls.
The old story, if God wanted us to wear clothes, we'd be born with them. I live right down the street from a nudist colony. I don't belong to it. I probably never would, but if somebody wants to do it, it's no big deal.
Yeah, Jacob, what do you say about that?
Well, it is a big deal. The woman's breast should not be exposed. Men might construe that as being an invitation to a rape.
Well, that's
wait a second. Whoa,
that's all
Jacob.
back to our culture.
Why are you stuttering? I mean, you seem to be getting excited even just talking about it, Jacob.
No, Mr. Lassiter, I'm not excited.
Oh.
The men in Scandinavia aren't crawling all over the women there.
Are you sure you're not excited, Jacob? Look down and tell me again.
No,
are you
Mr.
excited
Lassiter,
or not?
I can assure you I am not.
Okay. How long have you had this problem with impotency?
Mr. Lassiter.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Lassiter, this is all right. I also want to talk about, he'll like this too, Jacob will. The girl yesterday got so riled up about abortion, late yesterday afternoon.
Oh, the card-carrying communist.
Yes, sir. Right.
I didn't even know they gave out cards. I know communists. They don't have cards.
Well, I am trying to adopt myself. And I know there's 100 people for every white, healthy baby to be born. But it doesn't bother me that a girl gets an abortion because she wants to. I mean, if she didn't, it'd be another extra baby for me. But like you said, what's going to happen next year?
Exactly. I know that there are many, many people on the waiting list, but they also have very specific requirements.
Exactly.
And they are not, they're not infinite in number.
Mm-mm.
Abortion is murder.
Jacob, just stick to the sex.
No, I disagree. It's a woman's body, and she can do what she wants with it.
And not when it comes to taking a human life, madam.
It's not a human life yet.
Oh, yes, oh, yes, it is. Is it non-human? Is it non-life? No. It is a human life. Abortion is murder.
Some other
there has
time,
been
Jacob.
nothing, no law or anything passed saying
it's the
what it
supreme
is yet.
law.
Still.
Jacob, you're much more interesting when we're talking about penis size. Save it on the abortion. Leanne, I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Let's see. Let us go to Captain Jack. Hi there, Captain Jack. You're on the air with Jacob and Lassiter.
Yeah, listen, Jacob, I don't appreciate you treating my very good friend Lassiter, Bob, like you're doing.
Well, that's too bad.
Well, he's the best friend I got in this area, and I want you to be more respectful.
Probably the
to
truth,
him.
too.
Now, Bob.
Yeah, Captain.
All those nasty things I said about you, about tar and feathering you and keel hauling you and talking about your dogs and wife. I was just kidding. I didn't mean none of that.
I know that, Captain.
I know it. And I appreciate it. And why I called, I got a little problem, and I didn't know who else could help me other than you.
Yeah.
The fact is that there's some people that are building a house next door to me.
Yeah.
Here. And I talked to them last night, and I'm leaving. I'm not going to stay here. I'm not going to live to them. And I was wondering, don't you live over around the beach, somewhere over in?
Well, no, I live in St. Petersburg, but not that close to the beach, no.
Well, all I need is a place, to hang my nets and my mates and all. We have a party or something once a week. But have you got?
Wait a second, Captain. You want to come over to my house and hang your nets?
Well, next door or somewhere. Is there a place near you that you could put me on to?
Have you ever heard of Lutz, Captain Jack?
No, I don't know him.
Well.
But what about it? You think you could help me find a place over there by you?
I don't think so, Captain Jack. And besides, I've got to go to Gary McHenry for a WFLA traffic report. Jacob, stay right where you are. Gary, it's all up to you.
It's on my shoulders, huh?
It's on your shoulders, baby.
Good thing it's not on my gazonga.
Yeah, do you have any room over at the airport where Captain Jack can maybe hang his nets out or something? He and his mate?
Catch a couple of pipers and a Cessna or two. We have...
Jacob?
Yes?
Ah, there you are. Okay. All right, let's take some more calls. Let's go to Carol in St. Petersburg. Hi, Carol. Oh, Carol is the newest member of the You-Know-What Club. Pity, pity, poo. George in St. Petersburg. Hi, George. You're on the air at WFLA.
Yeah, are you sitting there naked?
Am I sitting here naked?
Yeah, because I heard you tell Jacob
Why, would you like to think that I'm sitting here naked?
No, but the reason
Would you like me to take my clothes off and sit here naked?
The reason I thought that was that you told Jacob that regarding, you were talking about your chair, and you said you were fully disclosed.
No, not disclosed, disclosed. I've come clean.
Oh, I thought you were sitting there naked.
I have thought in the past about taking my clothes off when Jacob called, though.
Mr. Lassiter.
What I really wanted to bring up was about that Italian woman, showing her bosom. Probably knowing a few Italians and a few French people, and they're very verbal, and when they get their voices, one tries to outshout the other. She probably couldn't get their attention, but so she was miming the fact that she was fully abreast of the political situation.
Is that the reason?
Yeah, so I mean, but they mistook it for indecency, but she was just telling them that she was on top of things, fully abreast, but she couldn't get her words in, so she had to show one of them to mime that she was on top of the situation. So you can see how it can be misunderstood just by a few little insignificant actions.
Well, ain't that the truth? I should understand that, if anybody should. Well, thank you, George, for, pointing that out to us.
Okay, swell.
Take care.
You too.
All right, let's go to Laura in St. Petersburg. Hi, Laura. You're on the air with Jacob and Bob.
Am I on?
Laura, would I put you on about that?
Okay, this is what I want to say. A couple of phone calls ago, a lady was on talking about that it was such a good idea to have your breasts hanging out in public.
Well, I don't think that's exactly what. I don't think that's exactly what she said.
Well, in a roundabout way, she thought it was a good idea. Right. Well, I think that if she thinks that's a good idea, number one, people that do that in other countries are probably because they're not civilized, and number two,
not civilized.
I couldn't agree more, ma'am.
And number two,
what's the matter with your boobs, lady?
She probably has such an ugly face that's the reason why she wants her boobs hanging out, because otherwise nobody else would ever look at her.
That's correct.
Well, most of the broads I've seen showing their boobs had good faces, too.
Well, if you want to have to go around exploiting yourself, you must be desperate.
Why is it exploiting yourself? It's only exploiting yourself because that's what convention says.
Pants on. It's the same idea. It's like you're saying you're desperate for people to stare at you.
That's right.
If I want to show it and you want to look at it, what's the problem?
There's a problem because of being civilized. If you're civilized, you don't want to do that.
What does civilization have to do with exposing the breast?
Some things should be sacred. And in other words, she figures we should all walk around wearing no clothes on practically, right? So why? Because she's so desperate for somebody to look at her?
I don't know what her reasoning was at all. Either do you.
Well,
you mean to tell me, Laura, that you wouldn't show me your breasts?
No.
Why not?
Not with a 10-foot pole.
Well, how about a 12-foot pole?
I wouldn't show anybody my breasts unless I was desperate or insane or something.
Why not?
Because some things should be,
How about if I gave you $10,000? I'm not going to try to touch them. Just want to look.
Forget it. But that lady probably do it. That was on the phone. She probably do it for $10.
$100,000 I'll give you. No touchies, just looks.
No way.
$500,000.
I can't be bought. I don't think you're Aristotle Onassis.
$10 million, Laura. $10 million. And all you got to do is flash him.
No.
Come on, $10 million, Laura. That's crazy.
No.
$15 million. Just to look. Okay?
No.
$25 million. I mean, just imagine what good you could do for your family, for the world, for humanity with $25 million just for a peek.
Would you forget it? Give it up.
$50 million, Laura. What is your price? How much would I have to give you?
Call that lady up. She'll do it for free. She's so
$1 billion. $1 billion, Laura. Okay?
Maybe her nose stretches from one side of her face to the other.
Laura, you would honestly have me to believe that for $1 billion you wouldn't let me look?
By the way, I'm calling from House of Lawrence. You know my brother.
I do?
Yeah.
I don't know House of Lawrence.
Oh, maybe you don't. Might have been somebody else.
Might have been. Thanks, Laura.
Okay.
God bless you, Laura.
Thanks, Jacob. See the rest of you guys either tomorrow or a week from Monday. Behave yourselves, huh? Dread Web coming your way.